Hello and welcome back to the Awakening Philosophy Podcast. My name is Jed and we are in a banger of a text. My goodness. What we have come to so far, the point where we left off, is the significance of language. There are certain things you can only experience and understand. Those are the two things we're after, understanding and experience. You can't have one without the other. Well, you can, but you don't want to. We've seen time and time again in this text the tragic implications of having one without the other. Let me just fix something on my OBS. Fixed. So, in order to experience and understand certain things, you need a language to do so. We've seen the significance of cultures who don't have the language, the specific word the. They can't participate in metaphysics or true understanding. And of course, it's this true understanding, or dianoia, based on the model of mind. That's metaphysics. That's also theology. Theology is the study of mind. And without certain keywords like the word the, certain cultures can't do real theology. So the name for them are barbarians, that's the name given by the Greeks. People who don't have a theology, or a story, or a mythology, a personification on metaphysics, what really is. Not only is it what really is, it's the causes, forces, and principles that inform our physical world. So to understand our physical world, including understanding and solving problems, you need metaphysics. Without it, you are, well, screwed, really.
Kant's a little fucking bitch.
Kant is a little... Kant doesn't have this. Hey yo, welcome. I finally have a Plato question coming from another philosopher. So, we're blocked from being able to understand the nature of reality, perfect our own functioning of understanding, because understanding is perfected the more that we do metaphysics, because it's the activity turning about upon the model from which it gains its nature and excellence. So without the word the, you're blocked from growing, learning, evolving, and solving problems. You're blocked from spirituality, and you're blocked from having a theology too. So coming in as the barbarian, as the Hellenics would say. A barbaric culture is one that doesn't have what it needs to solve problems and know the nature of reality and grow and learn and evolve. So there's a certain keywords in languages that we need. And that particular keyword that was given to us in the text was the word the. So our friend in chat has a question that he's going to rephrase into spirituality. Ooh. So we need a certain language to be able to play, to be able to fix our problems, to be able to grow, to be able to evolve, and to be able to reach our excellence. So we see that there is a language that does apply to the physical world, a language of adjectives, or as the kids say today, shapes and colors. People who are motivated by shapes and colors, from using their physical senses to see physical shapes and physical colors, we can derive a language from that, a language of particulars. A apple, a beautiful painting, a beautiful streamer. That's me. Some are saying it's me. A language of adjectives, or a language of shapes and colors, or a language of particulars. Now, what we have seen is Jesus had a transfiguration experience, or a separation of his soul from his body into the luminosity, or the divine light of mind, being, still existence, it still is, still an experience, but it's a different dimension or level. a non-physical level of existence, and that's the specific object of study, its mind itself, its being. That's the specific object of study that we call metaphysics, and if we put a mythology on it, it's also theology. So he had that experience, but claimed it was not understandable. It was beyond words. But what we have seen is, it's not that it's beyond words, because Socrates came in with some metaphysics, real philosophy, and with the skill of metaphysics or understanding to be able to use it in a dialogue called the dialectic, to ask him some questions about his experience, and he was able to put some words upon it. So it wasn't that it was beyond words, it was beyond the level that his words came from. And we have seen that it's his background is Hebrew, and they lack the word the, so they can only have a language of particulars, which is why they're very susceptible to belief, because belief is to have a language of particulars. I'm in that group, I'm against that group. I want to genocide that group, and I want our group to be the chosen people. I need to kill as Abraham was instructed to kill by God. Abrahamic religions especially. So, having a language of belief. And of course, we have recognized that it's belief and image thinking that go together as human ignorance. It's this loyalty to our belief based on physical perceptions that is the cause of human ignorance and suffering, and it's our development using ousia, the evolved capacity for self-reflection, and language, logos, reason, putting those together to reflect upon our nature, reflect upon our self-reflection, to reflect upon understanding. That's our purpose as human beings and the meaning of life, because we can participate in that through time. Also the meaning of life because it's the only thing we can take with us. It's the learning and the learning and nurture of our soul through making use of ousia and logos that we can take with us beyond the physical world. And that's really important because we want to go beyond the physical world even in our current lifetime. So as it applies for reincarnation, so too does it apply in our current lifetime. Because we want to turn away from the physical world of appearances or particulars or shapes and colors, separating our soul from the body to know the realm of mind. The existing part of reality, the eternally existing part of reality. So, good that we can take with us our understanding. Not only is it what we can take with us, but also it's our doorway into that experience of divine luminosity, because we are using our ousia to turn around and focus on mind in the act of understanding, or the dialectic. So it's also the method or model for meditation. But again, we require a language. We've seen that there's a certain word that applies to specifics that we need for understanding and learning and development and solving problems, the. But there are some other key ones. And then there are, without the word the, for particulars. A apple or that apple. So, we should actually nail down a list of words that apply specifically to what we need to learn, grow, change, and evolve, and without which we stay as savages or barbarians, hurting each other out of fierce loyalty to our false beliefs about self and reality. So going from savages to sages, what are those key words that allow us to participate in our own excellence and make use of the evolved capacities we have that make us different from cows, cabbages, and caterpillars, our ability to ousia and logos, understand and self-reflect. Before we do that, let's check in with our chatty chat. Okay. There's a letter 58 by someone. Seneca goes over Plato's 6 forms of existence. Does it? His example includes what Plato refers to as eidos. Yes, eidos would be one of those words we need to participate in metaphysics. Because those substantives that we are turning our attention towards, the nouns, beauty itself, not a particular beautiful thing, like a beautiful stream,
Dude, suck my dick.
Oh my goodness, that was a bit too harsh. But beauty itself, justice itself, the study of those things is metaphysics and theology when you put stories to them. But they all exist together as a oneness in that divine luminosity as aspects. Aspects. They're not different things in different filing cabinets. Now, if we might think they are different things in different filing cabinets if we are using our language of the physical world. That's the issue. We can't use language of the physical world to make sense of the non-physical dimension of reality. And that's how they teach it in school. So that's one of the terrible, great betrayals against our own species and our own humanity, is mistranslating the word that we got from chat, eidos, as forms, which is a physical language. There's a form of justice and a form of beauty. Bollocks. They are aspects that you can behold. The word eidos refers to aspects that you can behold. We need that idea, otherwise we're going to be stuck in our ignorance and suffering. So Plato refers to eidos. Yes, he does. Which is the form, not the form. Made in the idea of existing things. Yes, they're the aspects of that which exists eternally. Well said. The exact example is an artist painting someone. The painting itself is the eidos, whereas the idea is the person themselves. All right, so whoever this person that you are reading is, we already know that they probably don't understand. But that's okay. That's why we have this channel. We can understand the reason why they are making mistakes. And the reason seems to be they don't have a language to adequately make sense of Plato, or, as we said, they're reading a terrible translation. There's only one good translation of Plato. It's the One Balboa translation. And you can find it for free on the internets. So hooray for us. And we've been learning why that is. The reason is, without the dialectic, the use of understanding to reflect on our false beliefs and images and language from childhood, we are stuck in problems. Every human being has problems. Ignorance, false belief about self and reality, and the accompanying false language. The name for that false language is the pathologos, the sick understanding, the sick ideas. And it's taken us 2,000 years for somebody to come along and realize this. Socrates had the art of dialectic to help people remove their false beliefs, and he called it philosophical midwifery, because his mum was a midwife of babies. But his art was even better, says Socrates, because he was able to help people give birth to the false beliefs that blocked their ability to perceive, and cause them to project what isn't there, whether it be a person projecting their problems in their relationships or in their life, or in their fantasies or distractions or dreams, or a translator projecting his own false beliefs, like materialism, onto Plato, giving us the terrible translation of form instead of idea with a capital I, or eidos. So, but thankfully somebody came along and rediscovered what Plato dropped. Well, sorry. Plato can't take the blame because he was only 20 when we killed his teacher Socrates. That's not long enough to learn philosophical midwifery. It's our fault for killing Socrates before he was able to write down what he needed to write down to pass on the tradition. But yeah, good point. Eidos is needed, and a language to make sense of what Plato was writing or the conversations of Socrates. My question would be, does a religious image count as eidos? No. Religion comes from the word religious, which means to, or from the root which means to be bound. Religion means to be bound by a specific saving belief. In other words, you can't go to the Christian picnic if you don't believe in Jesus, because you're not a Christian. That's what it means. So the beliefs are always false and limiting, because beliefs are a cognitive function that are fucked. It's ignorance, it's savagery. Belief is from our caveman roots. It's an early evolved capacity of cognition. To believe the tribe leader. So if you know the most ignorant people, the people justifying genocide of Palestinians are Jewish religious people. The people justifying concentration camps in America, the Christian religious people. The believers of MAGA. The people who say Trump can do no wrong despite all evidence and reason are only people who are blocked from evidence and reason through the cognitive function of belief. But let me ask you this, if you understand, do you have to believe someone? Do you have to believe the guy in the big funny hat saying that his stupid ass beliefs are actually God's beliefs? It's not just Netanyahu saying he should rule the world. God wants him to rule the world. Same for every leader. So that's the nature of human ignorance and suffering. Belief and religion is just the taking of your own personal pathologos beliefs and shitting on everyone else through it. It's the universalization or the pedestalization of your own personal ignorance. Politics is the same. Notice, it's the only two professions where you don't have to have an understanding of your skill. Can't play guitar without an understanding, can't do surgery without an understanding, can't fly a plane without understanding. You can't walk onto some plane and say, I decide I'm the pilot because I believe. I believe in my heart that Jesus wants me to fly the plane. In no way, in no society would we ever allow that to happen, because we all know that the plane would crash. Because we all know belief is shit. We all know that. We are just collectively lying to ourselves about two things. Politicians don't have to have an understanding. I'll vote for him if my beliefs match his beliefs, and also religion. It's the only two professions, or other than being a parent, where we pretend that understanding isn't better than belief. And when we pretend to be stupid about the fact that belief is savage and harmful. Can't actually make a computer with a belief, but you can use your beliefs to destroy a computer. You can't make a good society based on belief, but you can destroy societies based on the beliefs that you carry. So that's the fundamental thing. Our purpose is to move from image thinking and the beliefs that we derive from our earliest teachers into understanding, which requires us to turn away from our dear mummy and daddy, or dear preacher or minister or imam or rabbi, you name it, there's a whole bunch, and actually look at reality itself. That allows us to perfect the use of reality, the use of intelligence, the use of mind, understanding, allowing us to solve problems caused by belief, and also perfect our own cognitive capacities to actually do good things. So empathy and intelligence are connected. The more intelligent you are, the more you can see, and the more you can see the sameness in other people, because it's the same mind. Essentially, we are the same self, engaged in the same purpose to experience mind in all of its different ways, in its journey to return back to mind, which we need a certain language for, and then on beyond mind to self. And that's our question. If there's a stage beyond reality or mind, does that need a specific language too? In that there's a language of belief and ignorance, us versus them, Are you on the team right? Are you team left? Are you a Christian or are you a Protestant? Are you a Jew or are you a Muslim? Who are you going to kill today? Are you going to kill that guy? Are you going to kill that guy? A language of us versus them, a language of conflict and ignorance that we derive from the physical world of appearances. But if we awaken our own capacity to reflect for ourselves and have courage, because it takes courage to let go of your early upbringing. If you were raised Jewish your whole life, it takes courage to say, well, fuck that, I'm going to think for myself. I'm not going to murder Palestinian children just because everyone around me is. It takes courage. And they will call you a bad Jew. They'll say you'll go to hell and all that sort of shit. All lies, but it does take courage to speak up. Especially at this stage of our human evolution, where there aren't a lot of people yet aware of our purpose, the meaning of life, to move from belief to understanding. So, it's a bit of a lonely walk at the moment, but it's absolutely necessary, because if we don't wake up to that, then the consequence of ignorant beliefs can play out to the extinction of our species. So that's our job. Enough heroes have to develop the courage to go through that wall first, or humanity dies. I could see where it connects with the Hebrew Bible. Okay. We don't really want to save belief. We want to understand belief. And in this book, what we have been doing is looking at the different gospels and realizing that every different person has their own level of ignorance and their own level of understanding. So for instance, most Christians quote Paul, and he has a very, very high level of ignorance and a very, very low level of understanding. And it's up to us to be able to see the difference and recognize why. It's very easy because he rejects everything Jesus says about understanding, and he says, hey, just do belief. And if we recognize that's the cause of human ignorance, then we know he's an ignorant person. And he makes him the leader. He says, I'm better than Jesus. I'm God's appointed apostle. So modern Christians quote Paul because it serves the idea of belief-based ignorance. So modern Christians are Pauline Jews. The mistakes are likely in my understanding. Oh, it's okay. I thought it was connecting some parts of Platonism with Christianity. It looks like I need to study both more. Yeah, well, we can. That's the thing. So what we're doing by using our understanding to learn the language of mind and understanding, we are perfecting understanding. So there's no Platonism. Platonism isn't a philosophy. If you use your mind to reflect and know your mind, you will reinvent Plato. And our modern times try to dismiss this by saying everything is just an opinion. So when you go to school, you get Kant's opinions and Hegel's opinions and, well, Adam Smith's opinions about capitalism somehow working, even though it's bullshit. You get a whole bunch of opinions. That's it. The inferred teaching is now you've got a bunch of other people you can quote to justify your own ignorance that you got when you were a child. Your unsuspected false beliefs about how reality is and what you are that you got when you're about 4 or 5 years old and you haven't reflected on since because you just think it's common sense. So people leave universities like Ben Shapiro, for example. Yes, I'm using my capacity to think to justify horrors inflicted on Palestinian people. I'm going to use my use of language to lie to people to scam them money. I'm going to lie about what I actually think about Donald Trump so I can scam people and I can fight for my religious Jewish heritage and be a good Jew like I was raised when I was 5 years old. It's always the same. But what we're doing is going past beliefs and ignorance, growing up, which requires a skill called the dialectic to discover the truth, or recreate Plato, you might say, or rediscover true philosophy. It's universal because understanding is universal. Anyone can play. There is no belief is divisive. Belief is you can't solve problems with understanding. You can only blow people up because your beliefs are not rational. It's belief. It's faith. Faith is to believe that which is absurd by definition. You can't prove it. But in our waking up, we are developing understanding. And the great thing about understanding is you end up confirming what you understand in direct experience. So it leads to the experience or knowing of it. It's both understanding and knowing of reality together that we call wisdom. But also you can use that skill of understanding that you've been perfecting by practicing how to use it. The skill is called the dialectic. In this learning / meditation, you can use that same skill to turn around and address your own unsuspected false beliefs about self and reality that's been making it difficult for you to play this game, or causing problems in your relationships, or blocking you from your highest goals. In other words, you can help yourself and others. It's not a solo quest. If you have other people in your life who are genuinely good people, who genuinely want to remove the cause of their harm, the cause of their injustices that they inflict knowingly or unknowingly on themselves and others. So if you've got good people in your life who are interested in development, you can share your dialectic with them and actually practice benefiting people, which has a huge implication in their lives, in your life, but also in your reincarnation. Because we've been talking a lot about how the way we live in our current life, because of some sort of cosmic balance, we suffer the implications in our next incarnations. So we're talking a lot about doing injustice and then reincarnating into a world where we will suffer injustice. And if you've ever looked around planet Earth, there is countless horrible injustices going on every second. The only way of making sense of that within a rational universe is a balance between our activities. But that's not justice unless we had the capacity to remove ourselves from bad conditions and gain the good conditions. In other words, there has to be always a capacity for learning. Therefore, it's that learning that makes us better. So it's not just about suffering the negative implications, but if you engage in learning and help others to learn, imagine the consequences that you would have in your next lives as a result of doing the one thing that genuinely helps people to this level. The most helpful thing you can do, share the dialectic. You might even be able to turn around and say, hang on a second, I don't even want to reincarnate back into a world of ignorance and injustice. I want to continue onward and meet Socrates where he is at, on a greater journey beyond the one of this reincarnation into Hades. But I thought I was connecting Platonism with Christianity. So we are doing that as well. We're doing that in this book. Because while Paul's job was to lie about everything Jesus said, we don't have to listen to Paul. That's just modern Christians. What we can do is look at the stories we do have from Jesus, written primarily by Mark, because Mark was copied by Luke and Matthew, but also the Gnostic Gospels. We have a bunch of those. And see for ourselves, how did Jesus go in his journey from belief into understanding? But also, how do the translators go? Because the first few lines of the Gospel of John talk about the Logos, talk about self. So you can find the language in those first two sentences, but 3 sentences on, he's back into his ignorant beliefs, justifying Paul's ignorance. So he's a follower of Paul, John was. And we can read the text ourselves and see him say, everything is from not the word, the Logos. Not one thing came to be without the Logos. I think he even talks about the autos or self. But that's what we're also doing. How did Jesus go? How did Jesus make sense of his experience of mind without a culture or he did have some influence from the Hellenics. So you can actually look at the stories that Jesus, or the lessons that Jesus was sharing before his divine luminosity experience in the Gospel of Mark, and compare them to afterwards. Very different sort of a thing. But either way, it's people. It's people. It's people's interpretations of Jesus without themselves having had that experience. And that's something that's similar between Jesus and Socrates. They left it for others to write about what they were saying when these other people are full of false beliefs. They haven't gone through philosophical midwifery and dream analysis. You can't complete philosophical midwifery without dream analysis. You'll miss things. Your dream maker is your guide. So, left it for ignorant people to write about. But also people to write about the experience of divine luminosity when they haven't themselves had it. Now, Plato seems to have had it, but no one in Jesus' circle seems to have the transfiguration experience. But a similar problem, only on two different levels. While Jesus' friends were around the physical world and have a language or logos to do with physical shapes and colors, meaning when Jesus has his experience of mind, the cause of the physical world, the model, the map, like the as you mentioned in your chat, the model that the artist used for its creation, he thought, well, this is beyond words. But as we read in the text, it wasn't beyond words, it was beyond his level of words. But we could say the same thing about Plato. While Plato wrote heaps about divine luminosity, that's pretty much his focal point. Giving us metaphysics, giving us the dialectic. He didn't write much about the cause of even mind, or the cause of, if mind is the greatest experience, what's the cause of experience itself? That's the self. So those are the three levels. The physical world, which has its own language. The realm of mind, or metaphysics, or true theology, if you make stories about it, which has its own language, different, that you need. Without the certain keywords you can't play. And the third level, the self. And to whatever level one is stuck, they will say, oh, this level is beyond words. Where I am experienced is beyond words. So sometimes this is called Peter's principle. In Peter's principle talks about in employment, you rise to the level of your ignorance. In other words, if you do really well in a job because you understand it and you can, apply your understanding and experience. So there's our understanding and experience. If you can do it really well, you get a promotion. And you do really well in this job and you get a promotion. And you do really well in this job and you get a promotion. But then you suck at this level, so no promotion, you just stay there. Peter's principle, you rise to the level of your own incompetence. So now you're stuck in a job that you suck at. Now, this is sometimes used as the pathologos Peter principle, in that because most people don't have the dialectic and dream analysis, because we killed Socrates and it's taken us 2,000 years to pick it up again, but thankfully now we can. So hopefully soon we will all get into it, and I'll become the most popular streamer on Twitch. That's been my goal all along.
Dead-eyed, and I don't use this kind of terminology lightly, dimwits.
To trick the dimwits. Sorry, what was I talking about? Right, because we don't have what we need to solve human problems, people carry that false image of reality. That's their false excellence. The same model they suffered from, the way that their parent talked down to them. Talking about Ben Shapiro right now. Have you ever seen any of his content? He's a right-wing grifter, terrible person, does a lot of harm. But the way he abuses people has his own flavor, has his own flair, from his own family, from his own culture. very big supporter of Netanyahu's genocide, of course, because he's Jewish. The way he talks down to people, the way he lies, the way he misuses language. Where did he learn that all from? He was doing it in school. Our parents. So our model of excellence we get from an early childhood, and unless we reflect on it, it becomes the model of truth, the model of knowingness. So what do? We look for ways of hiding our problem so we don't get punished for it, or we look for opportunities where we can play out our own ignorance and injustice that we suffered on others with impunity. In other words, have you ever wondered why these billionaires or trillionaires are not solving world hunger? Do you ever wonder why all the politicians are the worst fucking people in the world? They're trying to hurt as many people as they can, it seems. Why they seem to be wanting to delight in a privatized prison system, in mass homelessness instead of housing and feeding everyone? If we had the best people as politicians, we could live in a utopia. Why is it the absolute worst? And why do they seem to delight in it? Why is there a meme, the cruelty is the point? Because without philosophical midwifery and dream analysis, we look for opportunities where we can play out the same cruelty on others with impunity. And so long as they think it's their highest good, they will enjoy it. That's the nature of sadism.
You have the brain of a child if you think that.
And that's having the brain of a
That's
child.
anti-feminist in some way.
And it's anti-feminist.
1 million viewers and probably 4 trillion. 4 bajillion viewers.
We get lots of viewers because we have funny sound drops, right?
You just blow in from Stupid Town.
No, we don't. It's not from Stupid Town. Sadism. That's why cruelty is the point for belief-based cognition. People stuck in belief-based cognition. Ever had a job? Ever had a job? Isn't it interesting that no matter how many people out there with how many different jobs, it seems like the high point, it seems like when the boss is at his high point, showing himself, having the most fun, is when he's being cruel to his employees. Ever met a business person? See how they laugh and delight in stealing other people's money and crashing the economies for their own personal second or third yacht? Sadism, that's the nature of human ignorance and suffering. But we are learning what we need to overcome our difficulties individually and potentially collectively. The learning of understanding called the dialectic, which allows us to apply that dialectic to our problems, along with our dreams to overcome those unsuspected false beliefs about what's good that propels us, or the Pathologos Peter principle. People's careers, not everyone, but a lot of people's careers are motivated by the zombie virus. We look for careers where we can play out our pathologos ignorance with impunity, which mirrors Peter's principle. You raise yourself in your job to your level of ignorance. And then there was another use of Peter's principle that came up in our conversation today, and I forgot what it was. I got it. So, similarly, you got the Pathologos Peter's principle. Your life becomes seeking a career where you can play out. So a teacher doing it to your students, a politician dropping bombs on poor fishermen, or a religious person justifying a genocide against a whole race of people, etc., etc. You can't kill 1 million Palestinians unless you're the leader of Israel, raised to a level of position where you can play out your ignorance with impunity. Pathologos Peter's principle. But also the philosophical Peter's principle. You raise to the level where you think the level that I'm at is not able to be understood. Whatever my highest vision, that's it. Whatever I'm experiencing, it's beyond words. Because if it was understandable, you could understand where you're at. Understanding, requires also recognizing how the parts function as a whole and within a purpose, which means understanding your position also implies it's a part within a greater whole, which means whatever level you're at ain't the end. Meaning you can understand where you're at, where it is within a... Understanding would also require asking questions about its causes. What are the causes, preconditions, or principles, the forces that are required for me to have this understandable position? And if there are causes, they're always greater or more primary. So, that's the significance of a language. We need a language. Otherwise, whatever you're at, you'll say it's not understandable. Famously, Donald Trump, let's quote him, why not? Said recently, you can't understand magnets. It's just not understandable. He can have a physical experience of magnets, but if he says it's not understandable, he's stuck there. He's at his level of ignorance. He can't learn more about how magnets work, how they are related to electromagnetism, how you can use that to generate efficient renewable energy sources, how you can then free ourselves from the ignorance of people who use oil and other harmful energy products to enslave other people and destroy our society, destroy our planet, destroy our air, destroy our water, but want to maintain that harmful way of being because they can manipulate people. So again, if the pathologos Peter's principle, so now they can play out their own ignorance on other people and bomb the children they want to bomb, or starve the children they want to starve, or etc., etc. He can't do any of that. He's one of the most ignorant people on the planet, which is again a learning opportunity for us as human beings to see what happens if we do not insist on understanding and never belief in key professions. What if we allowed surgeons to do surgery without understanding and belief? Terrible disasters. Planes, what if we allowed pilots? And also, we are seeing the implications on society, the tremendous cruelty, ignorance, injustice, and harm being inflicted by politicians and religious officials, because they're two professions where we do not insist on understanding and allow instead the ignorance of belief. So, no potential for growth in any way for those people who say, well, it's just not understandable. The establishment left, the ones who are not doing anything about the fascism of the right. You can't understand the meaning of life. You can't understand a healthy society. You can't understand that universal principles apply universally, universal income, universal healthcare, universal clean air. It's completely not understandable, says the establishment left. Therefore, fucked. Can't do anything. To them we say,
Are you just blowing from Stupid Town?
what are you, just blowing from Stupid Town?
Would you just blowing from Stupid Town?
Stupid Town?
Disgusting. I'm so disgusted.
So disgusted.
And I find that very entertaining.
It's not entertaining.
I don't know if you know this, but like weird dudes exist everywhere.
They're completely lying to you. They're
And they're
completely
lying. So, their job is to deny understanding. So a lot of comedians right now are making jokes. So it seems the Democrats are allergic to success. No, they're having success based on their idea of success, which is to reject understanding. There is no truth, nothing is anything, just get your bag and allow the fascists to blow up the world. That's success for them. That's why they shouldn't be allowed to exist in politics. They reject the model of the thing. Also, the right wing. They're all anti-government. Oh, the government shouldn't exist. Well then, get out of government. You, not blow up there for everyone else. So, that's looking at it in the most ignorant people in the world. Same thing, your local religious nut job. The guy down the street, I don't know what country you're in, but I'm sure you've got the most ignorant person in your town yelling, pretending that he knows what he doesn't. And his only justification is he believes it. Whether he's preaching about Moses or Jesus or Lord Xenu, whoever it is, it's always the same. So we're using the most ignorant people, religion and politics of course, as the example for people who don't have an understanding of their current level of things, the physical world, but in the text, so that's looking down, looking at the lowest, most easy to see examples, only so we can derive an analogy. By understanding the most ignorant and most obvious problems, politics and religion, or the stupidest guy in town preaching about Jesus on this corner of your street, pointing at everyone he doesn't like and saying, you're going to hell because you're a black and I don't like blacks. You're going to hell because you're a woman and I don't like women. Just using religion or politics to, oh, you're going to hell because I'm a Nazi and that's my political beliefs, and everyone's entitled to their political belief. So we're looking down as an analogy for seeing that if you don't have an understanding or a language that can afford you an understanding of your current level, you're stuck there. The philosophical Peter's principle, different from the regular Peter's, which is about your job, or the pathologos, which is about seeking a job where you can play out your problem. But the philosophical Peter's principle, you're stuck at the level of understanding that you don't have. Anyone who understands the nature of religion won't be religious. It's very simple. Religion means to be bound by belief. Belief is a cognitive function in opposition to truth. When you're told you have to believe this nonsense that can't be proven, you also you have to swallow a second pill. Not only do you have to swallow Jesus is Lord or women suck or Mormonism is whatever, you also have to accept the pill that your own understanding is stupid. Because you're being asked to do something that's an injustice towards basic common sense, reason and understanding. So you have to take the blame, otherwise you're going to hell, or you can't go to church, or you can't go to the picnics, or you're gonna be hung from a tree. Because of course, the most ignorant also are the least empathetic, more likely to do lynchings. I didn't see Socrates out there condemning people to death, but he was. I love it when you use Trump as an example to our collective stupidity. I'm glad that you said that. I worry because sometimes I get like sick of the guy, but he's just such an obvious example of like cartoonish ignorance. It's hard not to use him, and he's doing such tremendous harm that it's frustrating once you've seen the nature of human problems. It's just belief and an opposition to understanding, like the Democrats, those two together working hand in hand to prevent our understanding, which is what solves problems. It's when it's so simple and straightforward, it's frustrating to see the amount of ignorance and suffering. Yes, cartoonish ignorance. That's why I'm kind of an absurdist. Yeah. So, looking down at those to see, oh, that's, yeah, if they don't understand their position, they can't solve problems. If the establishment left don't understand the model of justice and the difference between belief and understanding, then they can't solve problems. They'll say, well, any belief is the same as anything else. So we're not going to stop ICE. We're not going to stop capitalism. We're not going to stop homelessness. We're not going to stop genocide, because who's to say what's right and wrong? That's their cartoonish ignorance of the establishment left. Which of course then the fascists come in. Well then, we'll say, we'll give you a model. It's white Jesus. It's capitalist Jesus. It's a stupid model because it's based on belief, but at least it's something. So that's looking down as that example of the philosophical Peter principle. But we can look at the book, because Jesus said, hey, you know what's beyond language? My transfiguration experience. No words can explain that. But yesterday we had an example of someone who had a similar experience, and he was able to do what Jesus did in this text. Follow some questions, give some answers, to put words on the experience. But he was able to go one step further because he was able to make a conclusion. I don't think Socrates pushed Jesus to make a conclusion because the author is leaving it up for us to do. So the fact that, no, I think he did. He think, hey, by the way, it was the most real thing you've ever experienced, right, Jesus? Absolutely. And if it's real, it has to exist. Oh, yeah, sure. Then if it's existence, then we can say something about it. We can give it an adjective. It exists. Absolutely. So we're putting a language on it. So the conclusion we have to make as readers would be the next step of that dialectic and say, therefore, that transfiguration, brilliant light of being experience Jesus had is not beyond words. Now, we could go a step further and say, what do you make of the fact that you believed it to be beyond words prior? And we can even weave in the rest of the text. By the way, you're from a Hebrew tradition and a Hebrew language. Didn't we point out that we need the word the for metaphysics, for philosophy? And if you experienced the thing that we study in metaphysics or philosophy, then without that word the in your language, you have to use a different language. Otherwise, you will always say it's beyond understanding, beyond words. So we can push the implications to the conclusions ourselves. Whether or not Jesus can get on board. It might be early days for him. Maybe he'll have to have a few more of these conversations before he can, he's ready to make the conclusion. And that's the artful use of the dialectic. There is the skill itself, but even yesterday we saw with our friend, it's not just inputting information into a computer. We also have to have an awareness of the nature of beliefs and the nature of the philosophical midwifery. Because as we follow the stages of the dialectic to put words on or understand our level of vision or our level of experience or a level of reality that we've had access to so far, our false beliefs from childhood that we take for granted will surface to block us, because that's what a problem is. A problem is a block. But a problem isn't a block to falling in the pool and drowning. That's a good thing. That's a safety fence. It has to block you from what's good and meaningful and your development. That's why you can't really be addressing your problems unless you're also doing the positive. You have to be reading one of these books as well. Because it's the reading of these books where we learn how to do the dialectic and understand and experience truth. And it's that our problems block us from, for virtue of it being a block or a problem. So, I took the opportunity yesterday to describe this. Socrates outlines this in depth in the Alcibiades. He goes through a thorough overview of what's involved in learning, in philosophy, in the dialectic. You have to address your earliest teachers. You have to surface these blocks. You have to be able to reflect on them. But he also says, hey, you know what? You will discover your fundamentally loved beliefs and images about yourself and your loved ones in reality, and you won't want to give them up. It's like a new mother who's just had her first baby, but her baby is sick and has to be aborted. She won't. She'll fight tooth and nail. She'll go kicking and screaming because it's her most precious first baby. She won't want to give it up. That's what human beings are like to their false beliefs of self and reality from their childhood. That's why it takes courage and it takes character and it takes many conversations. It's not a one-off, it's a relationship. And also requires you to have a relationship with your dream maker as well. So I took the opportunity to give that introduction as well. So that's the idea of being an art or a skill that's used specifically to meet someone where they're at in order to benefit them. Benefit is the key idea for art. So we did yesterday. And Socrates in the text might have said, okay, there are certain, maybe this is as far as Jesus can get right now. Just putting a few words on this experience, which his whole life, and he died thinking, and the cause of his death is likely the fact that he wasn't able to understand it properly. He reverted to his false beliefs that had a tragic implication, as our false beliefs always do. That's the nature of our fate. So, philosophical Peter principle. Whatever level you're currently at, if you think it's not knowable, if it's beyond words, if it's ineffable, it's a fancy word that says you can't put words on it. Can't be effed. I can't be effed understanding it. It's ineffable. Ha 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 ha. Now, I find that funny because I've heard that a lot in my journey. Whatever level someone's at, they'll say, oh, it's ineffable. And I just realized ineffable sounds like it can't be effed, and that sounds like they can't be fucked understanding it.
Brain rot escalates.
Hey, I thought it was funny. So, and famously, we know Jesus wasn't able to go beyond the divine luminosity to know the self. Of course, his false belief of the self would then have to be addressed at the same time, complementarily, because you can't know the self and simultaneously be carrying a false belief about yourself that you think is real, because they're different. And we talked yesterday about that as well. You can't apply for that manager job and follow the steps to becoming a manager if you have an image of yourself that you are rubbish and no one listens to you and you've got nothing good to say and you're not very good at organizing people. You can't carry that image of yourself and be manager. You can't carry that image of yourself and go through the steps required to become manager. That's the principle. Is that a kind of Peter's principle? You only go as far as your block? That kind of fits in the same ethos. You only go as far as your image allows you to go. I guess that's the Pathologos Peter's principle, I suppose. There comes a point when your goals become meaningful about yourself and the highest nature in existence and functioning of yourself, where you are forced to give up one or the other. Give up the false image and belief about yourself and the problems that are associated with that. I've had enough. I'm sick of these repeating, stagnant, suffering, problems, blocks. Give up your image of yourself or give up your goal. All right, I'm going to give up. I'm going to accept mediocrity for my life. Live a quiet life of injustice. So, language is required for understanding, and without it, we are stuck. We're stuck to whatever level we claim is ineffable or beyond words. So, looking down at Trump, looking up into this dialogue in heaven between Jesus and Socrates and saying, hey, even divine luminosity can be understood so long you've got a language with the word the, and from our friend today, Techno, so long as you have the word eidos and you've got rid of that physical language of forms from your crappy ass professor at college. You need the word eidos. By the way, the nature of mind is ousia. It doesn't have a physical existence. Its existence is mind knowing itself. That's why it's the knowable experience. So you need the word ousia. Also, it's the sixth sense. Get M. Night Shyamalan on the phone, because it's the sixth sense that we awaken to be able to experience it. The non-physical sense. So you need the word ousia. You need the word logos, because it's not just logic. It's not just logic. It's causes, it's principles, it's universality, it's being, it's eidos. It's also mind or self knowing itself as mind. So you need the word logos. Logos is also the intelligible nature of reality. You need the word logos. And you need the word self. The most mistranslated word in Plato, in Homer, in the Greeks, autos, self. By our current culture, by the ignorance of our current culture, is the word self. You need the word self. So the, eidos, ousia, logos, self. You need these words. Socrates has them and is able to guide Jesus to understand that which he previously thought was not understandable, and therefore the limit of his growth spiritually and as a person. So we can make sense of that by looking down at dummies who can't understand magnets or don't understand what the difference between understanding and belief. Well, that's not a dummy thing. We don't really talk about that. So it's not dumb for not recognizing that there are different cognitive functions, considering we grew up in a world which don't delineate because it's belief-based. The people in power want to keep us ignorant from the difference between belief and understanding. So it's we won't call ourselves dummies, but dummies who say no one knows how magnets work. That's stupid. So looking down for that analogy, looking up at, hey, even divine luminosity, I might not have experienced it, but Jesus seems to have, and so has Socrates, and Socrates has the language. So that allowed Socrates to go beyond divine luminosity, and we saw that in the conversation yesterday that we're going to reread again today. Because Socrates keeps pointing at something beyond, and Jesus is not there. And we have spam.
But you shut up. You shut the hell up
Spam.
for a second. You're not real.
Spam.
Further fill the internet with spam and AI slop. It is spam. They are trying to convince them to flood the internet with spam. Weird business, because it's like, and this is spam, but you shut up. You shut. Robots will replace that, and that's
Dumbass.
Dumbass spam. Yes, and they seem to be not being able to, they're talking at cross purposes a little bit, because Socrates is talking about a state beyond where Jesus is currently at. So Socrates is saying, hey, we both can swim in the pool of wisdom, or the stream of wisdom, which makes it easier for us to explain it, talk about it, because we can feel the water, we can feel its effects as well as its nature. We can recognize the water and feel its effects. So being able to have the experience of divine luminosity, ousia, allows us to makes it easier for us to put words on it. And the principle of truth, the law of truth, those who have experienced the same thing have a kind of obligation or a duty to talk about it, put words on it, not just for themselves, but for reality, for everyone. The more people talking about this thing that exists, that's also the model of justice that every politician should have, and the model of reality that every spiritual teacher should be aware of or have. So those who have experienced the same say the same about the same, which is a fun principle or law of truth. But we can go one step further and ask the question, if there is a difference between the physical world and mind and self, would that mean that there is a different kind of logos or language that applies specifically to the highest that you need to experience and make sense of self? So just as we've been calling the luminosity the penultimate experience, and we saw Jesus say, hey, that's not understandable, but it was. Could we say the same thing about the ultimate spiritual state, the self? The thing that most people say is ineffable, it's nirvana, it's emptiness, it's nothingness. But actually, no. You're using a language from a different, lower realm, and it's preventing you from seeing what's there to be seen of self. And maybe even preventing you from reaching self. Not having the language. If you, as we've seen in the text, if you can't name it, if you can't explain it, you can't say it and use it. If you don't have a word for croissant, you can't order the delicious pastry from the bakery. You are going croissantless. So that's for us, because we want to know the self. We want to know the ultimate. We want to know what we are. We want to know the highest state of being. We want to transcend the battle between wisdom and ignorance, to go beyond wisdom, to be able to see both instantly. From the gap that's the cause of both, the instant. We want to be our authentic selves in that state of self, which we've been talking about in the text, to instantly act most appropriately for the situation without even having to think or plan ahead of time, with the full force of our being. State of self. Being in the zone. But similar to being in the zone, if you've ever been around athletes who've had that experience, like at the really highest levels, they develop their own language to make sense of it. Being on fire, being on the zone, and they have their own little rituals. When a baseball pitcher is in the zone, you're not allowed to talk to him. So you might see in the dugout, the pitcher on the one side of the dugout and everyone else on the other, because they don't understand it. Because they don't understand it, they don't want to mess up and say or do the wrong thing. That takes them out of that state that they don't understand. In fact, our friend yesterday had his own language to make sense of his experience. And we talked about the fact that the significance of learning the logos, the perfect language from this text, or Socrates, or, well, it's just the logos. That's why we read. Means we're getting a more accurate understanding, a more helpful understanding and language, but also we're not unconsciously mixing in our ignorant language. We talked about yesterday how someone might say, oh, I just saw the face of Mother Mary. I'm going to be the most murderous Catholic of all time because no one's going to convince me that we're wrong. Onward Christian soldiers marching as to war was the song we sung in church. Or I just saw the face of Allah, so I'm going to kill the most infidels. Terrible. We don't want to mix in our false beliefs or our pathologos language. And we also don't want to mix in our physical language, because it's not physical. And we also don't want to get stuck at the level of divine luminosity or mind, because, as we talked about yesterday, even though the divine luminosity might be the highest experience, up here, the top of experience, pure usia or knowing or mind, it's still within that circle of experience, or that which exists. We don't want to get stuck here and equally stuck in the cycles of reincarnation, or stuck in the human drama between wisdom, these two, and ignorance, belief, and materialism, belief and anti-understanding. We don't want to get stuck between this realm, or in this purple circle, we want to go to the top of the yellow circle. The self. So while it's self that exists, sure, it's an overlap of two things, self and the exist. What's the self itself? And that requires a new language, because the language of mind is here, and the language of the physical world or becoming is here, and that includes the language of the pathologos of belief here. Therefore, everything that we've used our language to describe has been something in experience. And we want to be free to go beyond experience to the cause of experience, or the purpose of having experience, or that which experiences, that's the self. We want to know ourselves, the one self or the good self. So that would imply there is a perfect language or a higher logos beyond the two down here in the orange circle. But as we saw, it's the logos of understanding that not only allows us to experience knowing or mind, it also allows us to understand completely the nature of belief. In other words, human beings without understanding are in a battle. Oh, it's the Christians that should rule the world. No, it's the Nazis. No, it's the Jews. No, it's the, the Mormons. The Mormons are the chosen people. No, it's men. Men are the best. I read Jordan Peterson, and men are top of the hierarchy. No, it's the whites. It's all that sort of shit. It's back and forth. They don't know what belief is. They don't know which belief is right, so they're stuck in the drama of belief. But simply understanding the nature of belief as the lesser cognitive function from caveman times, where you derive a false model of self and reality based on ignorant loyalty to cave family clan leader, then we don't have to get wrapped up in this or that belief. We've transcended it. Any religious person that knocks on our door, oh yeah, religion is by nature the ignorance. You'll be attracted to the belief from your own childhood, and it's going to be the cause of human suffering. Individually, in your relationships, and if you ever have power over others, pathologos Peter's principle. You'll justify the same horrific injustice you suffered. Yep. Not interested. By the way, if there's a college class where I can learn understand how to cook, understand how to play guitar, understand how to do surgery, yeah, I'll pay money for that. Provided the believers haven't stolen everyone's money for themselves. I have money to spend to participate in life. Because money is supposed to be like a river that we all drink from, because it's needed for life. So understanding allows us to instantly, as a whole, see the nature of belief. That's why the art of understanding the dialectic is needed to help human beings, because belief is the cause of human problem. So it's in our perfecting of our understanding. Not only do we get understanding, not only do we open our mind to knowing and enlightenment, or the penultimate enlightenment, knowing everything in existence, in that oneness experience of divine luminosity, but we also can help people with belief. And the strict dualists who say that there is no mind, there is no reality, everything is relative to opinions, dudes. So meaning, not only does this logos help us gain the excellence of itself and reach its model, it also has, in a higher capacity, in a higher sense, more holes the better, right, Emma?
That one's perfect and exactly the case.
I thought so.
The more holes, the better.
The more holes, the better. Because it's the greater whole, it has more instantly, in a more unified way, that which is underneath it. which would mean the logos we are after, the logos that Socrates has that Jesus doesn't, that we want to know the self, would also have what we need to know the model of the self logos, the one or the self, perfect itself, but also would have more instantly or in a greater whole wisdom. This Usia and logos, and an even greater whole, an understanding of our beliefs and pathologos. Which makes sense, because if our pathologos is fundamentally a false image, mask, identity of the self, and we know the real self, anything different from the self would be obvious. Right? If you were one of those people who, I'm thinking of a funny TikTok I saw written by a lady who made a romantic drama on being the best basketball player and beating the Boston Celtics, and then making Steph Curry fall in love with her, but because she won the basketball, they wouldn't date her. She used a whole bunch of language from different sports because she doesn't know basketball. But it's funny for us because we know basketball. When she starts talking about touchdowns and stuff, we know it's funny because it doesn't fit. It's obvious to us. So obvious we laugh. And you laugh when you see it instantly. You don't laugh when you've had it explained to you. So, if the nature of all human ignorance is our pathologos fundamental belief of the self that we identify with, then, and we know the real thing, as knowing basketball, then anyone's problems would be so instantly obvious that it should make us laugh. But not laugh at them, because it's recognizing that we ourselves had to go through the difficulty of learning the dialectic, participating in philosophical midwifery and dream analysis, perfecting our dialectic by reading this text on the truth, and then awakening this even higher question, what's that logos of the self? Learning it, practicing it with our friends, which is also fun because it's the best fun you can have with your friends.
It's a win-win.
It's a win-win, so that we can instantly see what's below it and use that intelligence and seeing to benefit our fellow man, because we recognize it as the same self, probably, if it's one self. Make pretty obvious the human ignorance, which seeks to otherize people, hurt those people because we need them as slaves in our private prison system, hurt those people because they're brown, hurt those people because they're poor. But if it's the same self, makes human injustice very easy to see through, I would expect. So that's what we can infer by looking at where Jesus was here and the importance of Socrates' logos here to lead him through a dialectic that can help him understand it, by seeing that people in the physical world who reject that experience are even more ignorant. So as we talked about, Jesus left it from people who weren't even able to have that experience to write about him, like Paul. Although Paul wasn't Jesus' choice. Paul appointed himself, which is pretty fucked, considering he's the guy that modern Christians quote. So we can look down at people in the physical world. If they say, oh, he's just, no one understands magnets, they're going to stay stuck down here. People who are here, people who are down here say, well, you can't understand reality. No one can knows what happens when you die. No one knows the nature of reality. No one knows the meaning of life. Then they're stuck at that level of ignorance. They're not able to reach this level here in the middle. And even if they have had an experience of that, like in the conversation we saw with Jesus, they're going to be stuck there because they say that level's not understandable. They can't realize that it is understandable, so they won't be able to go through the deeper and deeper stages. We talked about that last time. There might be levels of depth of that experience, but also in understanding it, you can recognize it has to have a cause. So you're going to be blocked from your next stage of development, either through that one or to the next one. And of course, for everything that we've been talking about on our upward movement, at the same time, we have to be using the dialectic to surface our false beliefs about those things. So we have to be doing midwifery along with philosophy. Because as we're saying, at every step along the line towards the true self, there is a false image of ourself that will be a block because the two are inconsistent. So not only are you blocked, and if you say that it's not understandable, not only are you blocked wherever you're at, you're also blocked from solving your problems. And our question is, how then do we learn this ultimate language, or perfect language, or best language, or self-logos, so that we can have that experience, perfect that logos by reflecting on its model, which might open us up to an even deeper experience of self, and also might contain more instantly and more perfectly a grasp or apprehension of wisdom, of knowing and understanding, and of beliefs and pathologos. The same way we instantly recognize beliefs from a level of understanding, or anything self or not self, because we are at the self. So what's that language? What's that language? What keywords do we need so that we can add the ones that we don't get from our culture? We need logos, we need ousia, we need eidos, we need the word the. Fortunately, English has that. We need the word self, of course, with a capital S. That's our question. The significance of language and the hunt, on the hunt for the perfect language. Ooh, on the hunt for the perfect language. So yeah, on the hunt for the perfect language that allows us to know ourselves and instantly have anything below it and be able to function with the greatest intelligence and care, or with a good heart and a good head. Our highest excellence. What's the language for our highest excellence? What's the language we need to know the self? That's where we are. Let's jump into the text and see if we can see everything we've just reviewed in the conversation itself. Here are our dudes. Now, that review of the significance of language and how it can block us, and the idea of Peter's principle. Not Peter's principle for the workplace, but the philosophical Peter's principle. Are we blocked at the level that we think we can't understand? Just as when you get a raise, you get a new job, you get a promotion, but now you understand that, you do it really well, you get a promotion, but now you're in a job you have no understanding of, and you do it poorly, and you get no promotion, which means you're stuck at the level of job that you don't understand. This also has implications for us as philosophers learning the dialectic, because the dialectic, being the map of understanding, also is the map of all of the different stages of get closer for this, all of the different possible ways human beings can think. So any person that you find yourself meeting, they will be blocked somewhere. Are they a materialist? They think the physical world is the only thing that exists. Are they a nihilist? They don't even think that exists. Are they a strict dualist? Maybe they're a kind of dualist that thinks that there is a self, but they can't know it. Or there is a God, but we are like ants to God. In other words, every possible way of thinking, perspective about reality and self can be understood within the map. But if this Peter's principle applies, then if we can show that person, here is an understanding of your own worldview. This is what it means to be a nihilist. This is what it means to be a materialist. And of course, if we can share that understanding with empathy, not to punish them for being wrong like fuckhead fascists do, to those people we say,
Would you just blow in from Stupid Town?
why'd you blind from stupid town? Anyone who does punishment, by the way, all it is looking for an excuse for Peter's principle. Punishment is Peter's pathologo is Peter's principle. I've caught you making a mistake, now I can play out my sadism on you with impunity because it's teaching you a lesson. Pathologo is Peter's principle. Looking for an opportunity to catch people being wrong so you can dehumanize them and inflict suffering on them, which never fucking ever helps people learn anything other than try not to get caught. So anyone who's interested in punishment,
You have the brain of a child if you think that.
you have a brain of a child.
Kant would say some fucking bullshit.
And Kant would say some fucking bullshit. So, why are we getting mad about people who do punishment? Oh yes, because we are being a different kind of a person to the people that we're talking to. We're not showing an understanding of their position so we can find an excuse to inflict suffering like a sadist believer. No, we are sharing our understanding to benefit them, to help them see their own position, to help them see that their position is actually understandable. They're not lost. They're not trapped. If you think your own position is ununderstandable, then you think, well, there's no way out of this. But if your situation and your position is understandable, then it can be solved. Problems in principle can be solved if understandable. So if you think, oh, there's no meaning to life, and then you meet someone who has an understanding, oh yeah, I know what you're talking about. Let's talk about it. Nihilism. Let's understand. Let's put words on it. The same way that Jesus was able to put words on his high experience, that's a position. Reality is divine luminosity. Just like nihilism is a position. Two different positions, two different levels of experience, two different capacities, two different possible states of mind. You won't be able to feel bliss in nihilism, but you can in Jesus' position, because divine luminosity is experienced as bliss. So, limited to certain states of mind, kinds of functioning, certain sorts of problems. But if we can present an understanding of their position and communicate it with them in a genuinely caring way, we might be able to help them. Help them. Free them up from wherever they're stuck and help them along to the next stage in their journey. And in fact, that might give us an understanding of the higher use of the dialectic to benefit all people. And that might give us an insight into the kind of activity of self we've been looking for. If we can recognize that as a kind of high excellence of human functioning, that anyone, wherever they're at, can have their position understood and have that understanding communicated to them in an empathetic way that can free them from wherever they're stuck on Peter's principle and open them up to the moving of their next stage, which is benefit. This could be the highest art that we're looking for, the dialectic. And this idea of having a language that can understand the situation you're at can be key to understanding our highest excellence as human beings. Let's see it in the book. All right. So the article "the" is one of those words we need in our language because it transforms the adjective into a substantive or a noun. It has the widest scope. The power of that article makes an adjective into a substantive and has the widest scope and refers to the most fundamental of things. It makes a one out of the many beautiful things, a beautiful painting, a beautiful streamer. Damn it. And as I do a zoom when I make that joke I always make, to what is beauty itself. What is the beautiful, that it has the scope over all of the specifics. So, in the Hebrew language, they have no word for the. They only have So, we can see why religion was a big deal for those dudes. Very easily manipulated because they lack understanding, because they lack the word the, which is the necessary word for the development of understanding and philosophy. Therefore, kill those people, follow these people, give all the money to this leader. Constant savage ignorance and barbarism of belief. So we need a word for it. Why? Because if you can't express it, you can't think it. This makes people, let's hear Socrates say it. Are you saying the Hebrew language does not have this magical term? Good heavens! That must mean such a language will have great difficulty fully comprehending our Hellenic philosophy. If you can't express it, dun dun dun, you can't think it.
Wow.
Wow. Wow. That would tend to make people more concrete or focused on the moment. Who's getting all the stuff? Which god says who gets to do the what to the who? Rather than explore the source of all sources, which makes us the same. The result would be focusing people's interest in doing particular things, becoming more concrete in their thinking, and through this avoidance miss out on the power of language for reflection. Usia. It just might account for the hostility some people experience from others when they seek to go beyond the concrete view of reality. So, as you seek to go beyond your physical use of language and your belief-based ignorance and savagery, you might find other people getting mad at you because you are talking about something they might not have access to because they might not have the word the. Any Hebrews getting mad at people who talk about understanding? What other cultures don't have the word the? Their entry into our Hellenic thought, says Socrates, would be handicapped without the study of Greek. We need Greek. Certain key Greek words. Jesus goes on to say, the well-known inherent difficulties or shortcomings of Hebrew exclude it from this kind of philosophy. Without the, they are out. Sorry, you're out. Sorry, not sorry, because just add the word in, like we add the word croissant. With a perfect language, here's the idea of perfect language, expressing the purest and most complete philosophy, you would have secured a way to express one's most profound thoughts. And that's what we're after, a way of expressing our own most profound thoughts and facilitating our most profound experiences. Both. Knowing and understanding. Ousia and logos. A state of being and a functioning. We'll have both, please. But to order both, you need the perfect language. And then we talked about different groups of people. With the realization of the integrity of the cosmos, that people can become more rational. That's important. We realize that there is a structure and pattern to reality. We can be more open to understanding it and become more rational. And more open to the more significant aspects of philosophical life. Cave dwellers, says Socrates, are victims of having learned false beliefs of the self and reality. There's the two. They are guardians of those beliefs and loyal to those who have transmitted that pseudo-learning. That's our savage ignorance, in that we are guardians of our own bullshit, of our own suffering. We are our own prison wardens. And we're loyal to the people who abuse us. Ever heard a poor person talk about how much they love Trump, the cause of their poverty? Why? Because we are loyal guardians We're guardians of our own beliefs and loyal to those who transmitted our pseudo-learning. Without philosophical goals, they just seek power, money, and empty pleasures. Funny that. Funny that. It's always the preacher who wants the money, isn't it? It's always the genocidal capitalist or politician or religious authority that wants to have all the money and all the stuff and all of the women's. It's always a promise. Hey, if you kill the immigrants for us to distract from the Epstein files or whatever, then we'll promise you'll get rich. Ignore your moral goals or your philosophical goals. So that's why they target believers. And then Jesus says, hey, what about sexual pleasure? Hey, what about sexual pleasure? You had kids. What are you going on about? And you drunk people under the table, and you're an army hero. Whenever what is done with the mind's awareness of what is being done, and the mind is free of any impositions of fantasy. So we talked about projecting our fantasies, our false beliefs onto the situation. But if we can have an awareness of what we're doing in the moment, we will not be feeding our false beliefs through fantasy. A soul doesn't desire what it desires. A soul doesn't desire because it desires. Rather, it desires only if it fits into what is thought to be good and real. But it is often mistaken about what the good is. When the mind is occupied with some illusion when it does what it does, then the fantasy uses, as it were, the immediacy and the power of the act to enliven the fantasy. Boo. If the mind is occupied with some illusion when it does what it does, then the consequences will end up as a disaster. Playing out the implications of your false belief about self and reality through your images or fantasies. There is nothing that brings greater harm than if one is mistaken about what's true and real, because that's what we seek. And it does what it does. It is not what is done that is significant, but what the state of mind accompanying whatever is done. So your state of mind. But also what's done should conform with your ideal and not your fantasy. So no sadistic belief stuff. So you drink and make love with a pure mind. That is free of any imposition of false images. Interesting. But what if you believe what you believe is true and you feel justified? But what if you're completely you don't realize that you're completely mistaken? Again, you are right about that. To do what one does with a pure mind includes what they're doing has to fit within their highest sense of being right and being just. If you don't have a sense of justice about your acts, then the recognition that it is consistent and if you don't have a sense of justice and a recognition that what you're doing is consistent with your highest philosophical goals, then it's a clue that you are harboring a false idea about what is real and true. Many believe their fantasy life is their own creation, but they fail to recognize the self-image within the fantasy is a manifestation of false identification. So, if you're in a fantasy, or if you don't have that sense of what you're doing is just and consistent with your highest philosophical goals, then you're carrying a false belief or image or fantasy that you're projecting. But you also have to recognize that the figure within the fantasy is a manifestation of a false identification. It's not your fantasy. It's the playing out of the implications of this bullshit lie that you believe about yourself that's the cause of your problems. That will end in a disaster. end in disaster. Yes, if one is persuaded and encouraged to believe in such a false idea of self and reality, then they are doomed to being irrelevant, says Jesus. Okay, so we don't want to be ignorant about what's real. Finish this. I have often stressed to those about me that to be ignorant about what is real and true is what everyone hates and fears. There is nothing more important than having truth as a companion to one's idea of reality. The inner connection between what is considered good and the desire for it and the quest for it is important to see clearly. The inner triad between truth, reality, and good, which stimulates our desire and quest for what we consider good, what we consider real or is, and we want to make sure that it's true as well. The inner triad. Jesus says, that was good. Interesting comparison you have made here. Mankind imitates creation in his own inner world. However, when it takes on the form of a daydream, then if I may say so, all hell breaks loose. Get it? If he says so himself.
But I want to be clear, I'm not AI.
No one said you were AI. So don't take a daydream form. Hell will break loose. You know, of course, that you may say your kind of philosophy is nothing other than entering and staying into a world of fantasy. There's a difference between fantasy and daydreams, you idiot, and what we do as philosophers, Jesus.
Fucking bitch, pussy ass fucker.
Yes. They forget the difference is between fantasy and philosophical speculation, that in fantasy there is a false image of the self, and its drama has no correspondence with the way to truth of the meditation of the philosopher. The speculations of philosophy lead to understanding and experience of the true self, and does not contain any element of the life of fantasy. And that's what we've been looking at. We want to find an understanding, or logos, and an experience, or ousia, of the one self here. So let's add the idea of ousia to that top level as well. Is there an ousia? We want the language or logos so that we can understand it and experience. And he is saying there is some sort of meditation of the philosopher that involves speculations. In other words, we can imagine it as an imagination, but also understanding, talking about it. So drinking beer and making love with the lights on. Love and logos. With a pure mind, no imposition of beliefs. Focus on what you're doing. And speculating about the understanding and experience of the self. That's how you make love, says Socrates, and that's how you party. So it's not about withdrawing from physical pleasures. It's about whatever you're doing so with a pure state of mind, knowing what you're doing is consistent with your goal of knowing the self, and wondering about the understanding or logos, the language of self, and what it would be like to know the self in everything that you do. Which means you are carrying a question in everything you do. To carry a question in everything you do is called a koan, or meditation. A focused concentration that you can maintain is meditation. The fact that you can, it culminates in, as Socrates just said, the experience and understanding of it, means the meditation can go from concentration, sustained concentration, meditation, until you eventually join with it, contemplation. So that would be the meditation of philosophy. Carry a question about the language or the understanding and the experience of the true self. But with the inner triad, the true self, the good self, and the real or the one self, that's the inner, we'll probably put one at the top maybe. One, because it's reality. What kind of one is the real self? Is it a oneness or is it a manyness? No, it's a pure one. So write the inner triad on the board, as soon as we just talked about it. So our speculations have to include the inner triad. What kind of one we're after as reality. But it has to be our highest good so that we seek it, and it also has to be true. That's the inner triad that we take along with our speculations or meditation on self. The inner triad for our meditation. So, highest goal, can carry at all times. In whatever you're doing, especially making love and partying. It's a win-win.
Win-win-win-win-win.
Win-win-win-win-win. Leading to an understanding and experience, nothing to do with fantasy or projection of images and beliefs. Okay, then Jesus says, so that's interesting. So daydreams and your kind of meditation or speculation both have that triadic structure. The one that you are after that's most real, it's your highest good, and also it's true. I wondered if you're going to talk about the triad for all creation. How does this progress from the one into all creation? And so that we can return. Good question. Back to it. So Jesus wants to know, how does the highest unfold? How did everything proceed from the one? And it said, then Socrates is now talking about, hang on a second. If we talked about something proceeding from the one, we need two things, since something has to proceed. But also, if there's a return, then they've got three things. So here's a triad for you. The one, many, or difference that unfolds. And you need the idea of whole, because however many unfolded from the one, it has to return. So if that's the returning, it's returning into a whole. Which is interesting, because that highlights for us that what we're after here, the one, isn't an unfolding and a return into a whole kind of thing, which happens down here with wisdom and ignorance. Should put in wisdom and ignorance just so we know. No, we know it's there. We know it's there. Belief and materialism, ignorance. It's on all the other ones, all the other Venn diagrams as, here we go. Belief and materialism, the model and activity, together as ignorance. Knowing and understanding, the model and activity, ousia and logos, together as wisdom. That's why that's philosophy, because philosophy means the love of wisdom, and that's wisdom. So, if he's saying, hang on a second, if you're talking about a unfolding and a return, you've already got three pieces, buddy. So what we're after is not just the unfolding and a return to a oneness or a wholeness, but we are trying to somehow transcend. it can't be a returning to a whole. It has to be a different kind of a whole without parts that we're returning to. So maybe we are. This is the need for language. What are we doing? Are we transcending? Are we jumping out? Are we letting go of that other stuff between wisdom and ignorance? This cycles of reincarnation in each moment or lifetimes? Are we going beyond? What's the word? So we can do it. Remember, if you can't, what was the quote? If you can't explain it, you can't retain it. That rhymes, but that's not what he said. If you can't explain it, you can't. Speaking of can't, isn't can't a bitch?
Fucking bitch, pussy ass fucker.
I thought so. If you can't explain it, okay. I'll search. Explain. No. Oh, goodness. If you can't, I think it's explain it. No, it's not the word explain. We should have this quote though. If you can't express it, you can't think it. There we go. There's our need for language. So we need to be able to express and think, which becomes a meditation that we can do at all times, even when making love. How exactly we jump, well, that's the word, right? Jump, transcend to the self. In other words, we need a perfect language to express our most profound thoughts. That would be a pure and complete philosophy. There you go. So, so we can understand and experience the true self is what we just heard here. So, what returned? So the one, it's whenever proceeds into a manyness and the return into a whole. And speaking of having many things, Jesus says, my idea of God is that he exists. It's the highest thing that exists, or a God that exists. For if existence wasn't attributed to God, then what kind of a God could that be, says Jesus. But, bring Socrates. Through these interpreters, you have raised the right question. The question is never going away, since it's always a pressing concern. If we are to take a look at this question, we will need to ask about one word, beyond. Ooh. Beyond. Wow. Beyond. Is that the word we're after? Going beyond creation and return? Consider if I were to say that I saw something so beautiful that the word beauty failed to do it justice, then it is likely that if no words could communicate that kind of experience, we could say the experience of beauty was beyond words. Wow. While we can wonder about this, would you not say that for the highest idea of God, no words or categories could be found to describe God? If so, then words would be wholly inadequate, and there would be no possible description of such a God. Now, we've been talking about how words apply to different levels. So what's Socrates doing here, talking about a beauty beyond words? Is he baiting Jesus? Is he trying to draw out a fundamental issue? Let's keep reading. Where's Socrates gone? Where is everyone gone? There they are. Yes, I can recall experiences I have encountered, says Jesus, that are beyond any words. There we go. Socrates drawing out Jesus' issue. Among experiences, those called transfiguration into divine luminosity are said to be beyond words. There we go. And that's our theory. Hey, it's just that his language was not perfect enough, so he's using a physical world logos to describe divine luminosity, which needs a different language. And our question, is there a language of this, or is this actually beyond words? And the fact that we can talk about it as itself beyond existence tells us, well, maybe it's not beyond words, maybe it's a different use of words that doesn't apply to anything within this this purple circle, which is everything that exists that we can experience. If we can't, goddamn it, if we can't describe it, you can't prescribe it. We just found that quote. I forgot it already. If you can't express it, you can't think it. There we go. Can't express it, so we need to understand the way of expressing the top one. So, divine luminosity, some say, is beyond words, says Jesus. True, they do say that. Yet, would you say that the experience of the divine luminosity was real and not an illusion? Would you not? Yes, I would say that. And would you not say that this idea of real means that it truly exists? Yes, again to that. However, the idea of existence is added to it, like the one exists. If the idea of existence is added to it, like one exists, then there would be something added to the idea of one rather than just itself. And that would be existence, or what is, or is with a capital I. There is a word called itself that, strictly speaking, refers to nothing other than itself. It is used to refer to the highest idea of good, of God, the One. In all fairness, even here we are saying that it is just by itself. If we do that when we're not talking about the One, rather we're contrasting it with something that can just be by itself. So even the language of it is by itself still uses the word is, so we're kind of contrasting it or using an analogy between something that would apply to here and here to understand here. So there is some sort of words we can use. In fact, he's saying is the thing itself. We can apply existence to it and get this Venn diagram and say here is the thing itself that exists in the highest way. But we want this part of the Venn diagram, the one itself, or God itself, or the highest idea of God here, the ultimate. Different kind of a language. You can't tack other things onto it. To use your language, says Jesus, I would say that one is the only word that can be used to describe the profound nature of God. However, there must be a difference between this most lofty idea of God and the idea of the One. Since the idea of one must be distinct, at least in some way or manner, from God. The idea of God includes the idea of existence or being, but not so the good or the one self. So, everyone that you've ever met who's had an idea of God says that he exists in some way. So if you're using the word idea of God, you mean some highest kind of existence, you're already hamstringing yourself to this purple circle here. But not so the good or the one itself, or the one self, good self. Doesn't exist. What's the word? Beyond? It's beyond existence? Is that the right word? We want to go beyond everything that exists? Even highest kind of existence? Not so the good or the one self. Even calling this noblest idea of God a God limits the idea of God, since it must refer to something and not something else, and that would mean it is not beyond words at all. What can we do? Let us say that if we can use this most profound idea of God, then we do not need to add to it the notion of existence. So he's saying, hey, the God I'm talking about is different from your God, Jabroni, Jesus, Jabroni Maloney. It's beyond existence. Or you can't add the notion of existence, since that would make it a two-ness, having itself and existence as parts. There's our Venn diagram. So if words limit the idea of God, then this God is beyond existence as well as beyond words that refer to anything existing. So we're kind of using words, but in a new category that does not refer to anything existing, anything in this circle. Talking about the one itself, or the good itself, or the one self, good self. Thankfully, so we can have something to use, to talk about it, to speculate about it, to carry it as a question in everything we do, to make sure everything we are doing is right and just and in alignment with our highest goals, whether we be partying or making love or anything we do, because that's the highest use of ousia and logos. The highest use of ourselves. And by the way, if you're not carrying that question, you are still carrying a question, it's just a garbage one. A false idea of self and reality. So you're not adding an extra weight to your shoulder, you're freeing yourself up from the actual weights that you carry by carrying a question about yourself that's not you. The first character that stars in your daydreams and your fantasies. The cause of your problems. So you're taking your mind back. I will drink some juice to that idea. Cheers. Oh, that's nice and cool. So key for us, beyond anything that exists. Beyond words that refer to anything existing. So that we should not even say that God is God or use that term in any way. So the word beyond carries much significance, and in the end is necessary not even to use the word God. So the word that we might be looking for that escapes even procession and return is beyond. You're not returning, you're jumping beyond, or you're recognizing the self that's beyond, or beyond, well, it's beyond existence, it's beyond experience. It has to be, right? Otherwise, how could you have experiences? If the self that has them already has, if you already have like blueness, you couldn't experience yellow because you just experience it as green. You'd add, which is how belief works. You're carrying your false beliefs about self and reality, preventing you from seeing a green thing. You're carrying your blueness, so everything you see is green and not yellow. A yellow person, a yellow chicken walks along and you say, "You goddamn green chicken." See, I'm not green, I'm yellow. You're projecting. Beliefs, projection. But we're after the real self. Can't be carrying anything that exists or experience for it to be able to have all of the experiences purely. Make sense? I hope you're confused. It's that confusion we want to carry. So the word beyond is what we're looking for, says Jitsok. The word beyond carries much significance, and in the end, it is necessary not even to use the word God. And then he asked the question we had in chat today, what about this idea of idea? Eidos. Well, there's a lot of confusion about this idea of ideas, or eidos. Sometimes some crappy colleges call it forms. Can you believe such a thing? If you were in a stream of water, you'd likely be able to describe the effect the water had on you, and also describe the water itself. It's the same for the most brilliant light of being, the divine luminosity, since once having had the experience, one can say it is the most real of any experience. A beauty beyond the experiences of beauty. Notice? A beauty beyond experiences, plural. Still an experience. Beyond manyness though, beyond plurality. The state where you know it touches on truth. In our Greek, the word idea, eidos, means to behold. So from beholding that experience, one can say these ideas can be drawn from that experience. Thus, the ideas are also eternal and have a mode of existing beyond all others. Given this, we say that the ideas with a capital I, the ideas of reality, beauty, and truth are indeed ideas, but far different from mere concepts that we call ideas, so we capitalize the word idea to declare that we stress their difference from ideas that are merely concepts. We would say, maybe even we can go beyond capitalizing the word idea and just say eidos, because we want that perfect language that allows us to function in our highest way and reach our highest goals. So maybe we just add the word eidos in, that's what we were saying today. So we can say there is a difference between having an experience of the idea of the good, the eidos of the good, and the good itself, inasmuch as there is a difference between the sunlight and its source, the sun. So we can also call this overlap here the eidos, or the idea, or the beholding of the good, and this is the good itself. And you can think about this as this is the sun, and this is its sun rays. And maybe the physical world, flowers and things, and a tree. It's an analogy you can wonder about. Oh, and so it's the ideas of reality with a capital I, or the eidos of reality. That's philosophy, because if that's here, and philosophy is the study of wisdom, and wisdom is understanding and knowing, the logos and ousia of this, then it's the metaphysics or philosophy, or the higher use of understanding is to understand the eidos. That's what it is. So when you're watching some Stoic philosopher on YouTube talk about philosophy is about doing push-ups and doing a cold plunge in the morning and on your grind set to get the money, bro. They are bullshitters. They are down here. They're not doing philosophy at all. They are Stoics. Stoics steal the idea of the words, the language from here, and they apply it down here. That's what Stoicism is. And that's from the text as well. Let's find, we're on page 189. So if we find the word Stoic The Stoics came after me and did their own interpreting. They are without metaphysics, without mythology, and without dream work. Yet for all that, they still think they are part of our spiritual tradition. Stoicism. No metaphysics, mythology, or dream work, so the opposite of philosophy. So if I type in 189, can I go back? Yep. Hooray. So beyond all else there is no term, but that, says Jesus. But that even excludes the idea that God is nothing, for nothing is itself, after all, referring to something that can be said to have no qualities. But that's not equivalent to something that surpasses all qualities. So now we've got a new word. Can we say surpasses all quality? We're looking for the words we need to have the experience and meditate on it. We've got the word beyond. Now I've got the word surpassing. Although that one came from Jesus, so maybe take or leave that one. Interesting that it's from Jesus and not Socrates. Jesus hasn't had the experience. He's trying to make sense of it in the language he's got. Interesting that we share much. In one way, it's not surprising. In another way, it is. It looks like we have both jumped into that stream of wisdom, Jesus. What would you say most clearly mirrors your own vision? Wisdom, of course. This part here. They both swam in that waters, it seems. So which mirrors your vision? You go to the heart of things and you go quickly. As they say, the nearer you are to that light, the more you are full of that light. And beyond that, they quickly add that coming into that light, one should be able to shine forth that light. So we're using the idea of light to talk about the sun and its sunlight. But also, the more we're in that light, the more we're filled from light, and that's the light of mind or intelligence. So this is the smarter we get, the more intelligent we get, but also the more we're able to shine that light. This is what's called having a good heart and a good head. The more intelligent, the more caring you are. The more ignorant or attached to belief and image thinking, shapes and colors, the more harmful and cruel you are. The more scared, ignorant, and harmful. So the more into the light, the more intelligent, and the more caring. So as we return on our journey, fulfilling our human task, to let go of what we are savagely prison wardens to, our own ignorance and our own suffering, and we're savagely loyal to our own false teachers of that false bullshit. Our job is to let go of that ignorance, and through understanding, of course, and rise to true understanding and knowing, becoming more full of light and more able to shine, more able to function better and help. And then we want to reach the sun. We want to be the sun, the source of the light, the source. So fun analogy. And at the end of this discussion, we're tying it into what it feels like. So it's not just understanding. Remember, it's experience as well. People who say philosophy is just about thinking or logic, that's modernism. And Kant is bullshit.
Just shut the fuck up forever. Just calm your fucking tits.
Calm your tits, because...
Would you just blow in from Stupid Town?
I need to have Kant is crappy on its own. I need to say it. See, normally it's a soundboard. I mean, it's so soundboard. Of course it's a soundboard. Normally it's a randomizer. But I want this one. Do it. Why won't it do it?
Kant's a little fucking bitch.
There we go.
Kant would say some fucking bullshit.
Kant would say.
Kant's a little fucking bitch.
Kant would say.
Kant's a little fucking bitch. Kant would say some fucking
some
bullshit.
fucking bullshit. Kant would say some fucking bullshit. Yeah. Why am I talking about Kant? Oh, maybe that could fit with the other one. Kant would say some bullshit.
Kant's a little fucking bitch. Kant would say some fucking bullshit.
Because
vapid cunt.
Vapid Kant. Kant's vapid.
Kant's a little fucking bitch. Vapid cunt.
Vapid Kant. Oh, I'm losing my mind. So, talking about what it's, yeah, so people who talk about it as only rational or only logical, just some bullshit from, for getting good grades or learning a bunch of quotes to justify your own personal opinions and beliefs. That's not it. It's an experience. And here we're talking about using the metaphor of the sun to talk about coming into the light, being able to shine that light, becoming more full of light the closer you're into it. So this is how we learn and evolve. And we experience it. You get to feel good. Feel good.
1 million viewers and probably 4 trillion. 4 trillion viewers.
All want to feel good.
That one's perfect and exactly the case.
I thought so. Well said, Jesus. I would only add that how close one comes to that light depends on one's ability and aptitude for receiving the gift. So now we have a keyword, receiving. We've got beyond. We've got surpasses all categories. We've got receiving the gift. For receiving the gift of the divine. So these are the keywords we need to be able to be open to having the experience. If you can't express it, you can't. God damn it. If you can't express it, you can't think it. And we're going on. Not only think it, but experience it. Uh-huh. So how close one comes to that light depends on one's ability and aptitude for receiving the gift of the divine. The coming into that light is a return. So there's our procession and returning. As the departure is its procession. Together they are a whole, moving in opposite directions, both up and down. So we want to get on that river that takes us this way back to the return. Together they're moving as a whole up and down. Opposite directions. Surely the whole has both motions. It's got motion. As does all kinds of creation. It has a motion in and out of the gap. Ooh. Apart from these motions that receive the new and release the old. So here's some more language. We want to be receiving the gift, receiving the new, but also releasing. So we're going beyond. We are surpassing. We're also releasing our old beliefs, our old images in the moment, and receiving the gift of the luminosity. But it's also in and out of the gap. So that helps us with our other question. How does this model fit with our time model? So it seems like this film strip model of time, the emerging and returning, he's placing the divine luminosity in the gap. So he's also got the instant there, so maybe there's a divine luminosity on either side of the one self. In each moment, creating the emerging and returning of each creation, of each moment. each millisecond, microsecond. So, our motion in and out of the gap. Apart from these motions that receive the new and release the old, there is something that always remains the same, persists unchanged and steadfastly in what it is in an unchanging way. What is that? Some give it the name of substance. Okay, it's not substance because every moment is a new creation. Some talk about its luminous, its gold-like appearance, receiving images. But of course, we know that it's not either of those. Let's hear him say this other one. The substance endures for only a moment, an instantaneous moment, and then it would not be something that's continuously present throughout all time. Another thought is there is something behind the appearances that receive the appearances. I've heard some say it's like gold, both because it can take on any form and because of its natural glowing nature. I don't think either of those fit with our model, but we can... I don't know. So, well, he's saying, if there is this creation of the now, is there some sort of gold-like substance? Could that be the light of that luminosity between each moment? Is it that luminosity that's shaped and then release? It's shaped and then releases to become the moment again. So we're looking for the instant of the self, we're looking for the divine luminosity, and then we're wondering what exactly is shaped that gives us the role of appearances. Is it our own mind? Is it the gold-like substance of the luminosity emanating from mind that's shaped by mind to create each moment? That would make sense. It's a theory we carry. It's a question we carry. A hypothesis we carry. That's speculation. That's the meditation. Jesus says we're of one mind and reflect upon it the same way. Could we not say it another way? I like to reflect on it as the cause of the celestial order and of true motion that never varies. But this is the cause of the transformation of all things capable of being transformed. The power of such a cause is profound and as profound as what we say of God. So here is Jesus saying that this luminosity shapes whatever is shaped and is the model or source for all creation. But again, he's talking about this, the divine luminosity of mind. And Socrates is asking, but what's remaining unchanged? And that's our question. There's a coming and going, a creation of the divine luminosity, and it may even be the remnants of divine luminosity, or the flow or the shine of divine luminosity that's being shaped. So it could be the ousia of mind emanating and then being shaped by the model of mind. But either way, it's a return, it's an emanation of creation, and it's our job to return to its source in that wholeness or oneness. But Socrates is saying, hey, what is outside of that? What always remains the same while this stuff is going on? Because that's what we want. We want to be the self that remains. Or the one above all, to quote Marvel. Or the beyond, to quote DC. I don't know which one's the one beyond all or the one above all. One's DC and one's Marvel, I know that. But that's what we're after. Is it beyond? Is it above? Above wasn't in the book. So we've got beyond, surpassing all qualities. We're letting go or releasing this creation and returning process, which also mirrors what we've been talking about with reincarnation, because depending on our ability and aptitude to participate in divine luminosity is how well we can be illuminated and be a shining force with a good heart and good mind ourselves. But also, he said the same thing of death. In death, we all have the capacity to experience that. And depending on how well we've lived doing this job, learning the dialectic to remove what's false and to perfect what's true and to go beyond, makes us able to participate in that divine luminosity when we die to a greater degree. And that is the cause for what kind of a reincarnation we'll have, how smart we are. So just as how intelligent and bright and shiny we are in this life, so too in our reincarnations. But it's still a back and forth, an emanation and a return, a creation and a reversion. We want to say, hey, no more of that. Let's just stay who we are as we are and go this direction. Play the higher games that are there to be played with Socrates, rather than going into ignorance and then trying our best to get out of that and to wisdom and overcoming the back and forth. So our wisdom can be instant because it's transcendent. Because even divine luminosity comes and goes because it's an experience. By definition, every experience has a beginning, middle, and end. In other words, you come out of it. And hey, especially if we still have our pathologos, we can forget this wisdom experience very quickly sometimes. Maybe you've done it a bunch of times because you've had it in dreams. But without dream analysis, you've gotten it. So, escaping the cycle or prison of reincarnation is our job. And that's why we want that logos that applies to the one or good that's beyond the one itself. And wonder about what it's like to ousia or have it as a state of being that's beyond being. So what's the logos and ousia of the self? What's the language we need? And also keep it at all times, whether we're partying or making love or whatever else we're doing. Keep that question. What's the understanding and experience of self that's beyond the coming and going of creation, the creation and the return, or the light between each moment and the physical moment, or wisdom and ignorance and human drama, or reincarnation drama? What's the self? What's beyond that? What transcends that? What's the cause of that? What's the thing that persists unchanged and steadfastly is what it is in an unchanging way? What is that? It's not this other stuff, because that's stuff. And that goes a bit beyond above Jesus's head, and he says, I'm more interested in this idea of God, because what you're talking about is a bit of a challenge, because I've only just started putting words on my luminosity experience. And here you are talking about what's beyond that. But doesn't matter, we can still wonder about it, even if Jesus is a little bit behind. Maybe we can even talk to him when we meet him, wherever we meet him. So, it's this, says Socrates. It's the luminosity of the, what you said, Jesus said, the cause of the celestial order. So the celestial order, the order of the planets in our galaxy. And the true motion that never varies, says Jesus. This is the cause of the transformation. So there's some sort of transforming of all things capable of being transformed. This is the power of such a cause is as profound as what we say of God. So we've already said what we are talking about is beyond God. We don't use the word God anymore. Everything about God has to have some kind of existence. And Jesus is saying, I like that idea of God that exists. And we're saying, no, we're not talking, we're going beyond. But that God, the God that exists is the cause of things, right? All right, okay, so that's where you're at. And that's what Socrates asked. What's your vision? He said here, what's your vision? And then Jesus says, you can really go to the heart of things. Which of these two ideas or visions is closest to your own, Jesus? Yeah, which of these two, the ideas, clearly, most clearly mirrors your own vision? Yeah. You go to the heart of things and you go there quickly. And so the answer is divine luminosity or mind. And Socrates says, yep, so this is what mirrors your own vision, does it? Does it not? I say that because it is good to talk about the truth, not the true self, the truth about self. It's good to talk it's good to talk the truth about the divine, the middle part. As we are doing, the law of truth requires those who know the same, say the same about the same. Knowing then the truth, we speak the same truth. So now we know where our characters are at. Jesus had this ousia, he's just learning the logos, and he's very stuck here. Well, he's very, not stuck, that's where he's at. Socrates has that logos, and he's pointing to a different logos, so Socrates is up here. Of course he is, he's Socrates. That's where we want to meet him. We want to meet him where he's at. Which is why we have a question. What's the logos that, hey, may have scope? It may be able to better understand wisdom and ignorance, in the same way wisdom can better understand ignorance. But it is a unique kind of perfect language that applies to the highest, that which is beyond even the ideas of God. The self. The self itself. The one self, the good self, the true self. What's its logos or understanding? What's its nature or ousia? And whatever level we're at, talk about it. You don't have to be here before you can talk about that. Hey, even talking about what you're doing, if you're doing philosophical midwifery and dream analysis, then you could talk about that. That's the law of truth. The law of truth requires those who know the same, say the same about the same. Notice, not different opinions, not debate, dialectic and sharing it together because it's the truth and it's the same. Not division, not belief, not conflict, not debate, not ignorance, not shapes and colors. The truth of mind and understanding and the self. Now the haters come in. And the haters say, should we do the haters? Let's do the haters. Haters say, haters say,
now they need a perfect language to tell their lies. Tie that up with this talk about fantasy and you have another mess. You say cultivate fantasy and be a philosopher? What utter nonsense this is! No philosopher ever said anything worthwhile. Because words can't carry meaning any more than pigs can whistle or meatballs bounce.
Notice we have recognized where they're at. They're at this kind of belief, the haters. And its function is to reject understanding. Words have no meaning. Anything is anything. Just believe whatever the fuck you want and kill as much Palestinian children, or enslave as many workers, or take children in the mines, or buy all the stuff and kill all the people. Who gives a shit? Words have no meaning. Anyone is anything. Blow the world up. We're saying we need a language because that's how we think and how we see, and it also facilitates our experience, and it also allows us to be more capable, more able and apt, more able and apt to participate in luminosity, which fills us with luminosity and allows us to shine and benefit ourselves, our loved ones, and our fellow man. The exact opposite of those who reject understanding and words. Words are the key. Words are what we're here for. To master words, that's understanding, that's the dialectic. So, what are the anti-haters? Hey, have a drink of copium, you haters, with your haterade. Wash down your haterade with some copium, You fucks. You
Disgusting. I'm so disgusted.
so disgusting.
You're a baby. You're a little
You're
baby.
a little baby.
But I want to be clear, I'm not AI.
Okay, RM Brown's not AI.
I find that very entertaining.
Yeah, well, good.
Would you just blow in from Stupid Town?
Blown from Stupid Town.
Cunt's a little fucking bitch.
It can't a little bitch. So what do we say? What do the anti-haters say? We need to do this one. Oops. There they are. They say, the anti-haters say, they have a deep voice because they are based. You scream out loud as long as you want, and it will change nothing. Why not try reviewing your fantasy and see if they have some connection to the problems you are facing? I like that. Review our fantasies. It's important. It's not a blame game. You have fantasies that come up. But our job can be, ideally in a loving relationship, love and logos, review them. What was the first character that came up? Hard to see? Well, how did the drama play out? Does it reflect any other dramas you've lived? Can you trace it back? Midwifery. Midwifery. Human excellence, shining your light in a way that benefits human beings. Why not try reviewing your fantasy and see if they have some connection with the problems you are facing in your everyday world? I thought you would at least mention the discussion on the Transfiguration as the most brilliant light of being. So our friend today in chat talked about, can we connect Christianity with Platonism? Here you go. Techno will. Here you go. How do you connect Christianity with Platonism? The peak experience, the turning point in the Gospel of Mark, the Transfiguration experience, the thing that made him the King of the Jews or whatever, can be understood as the most brilliant light of being. Now you've transitioned from a Hebrewic tradition based on belief or a language that only applies down the bottom, to belief and ignorance. Now by recognizing the Transfiguration was an experience of this puppy, you can bring in philosophy now to understand it. Allowing you to, as Socrates is doing, midwife Jesus. Imagine that. Imagine midwifing Jesus. We don't have to, we're reading it. We're seeing Jesus go through a dialogue, allowing him to reflect on his ignorance, much better than the chorus is, the haters, but also add understanding to his experience. Not quite yet ready to go beyond, it seems, but we can ourselves. It's a win-win-win.
It's a win-win-win-win-win-win-win-win-win.
The more holes, the better.
The more holes, the better.
Brain rot escalates.
Come on, stop telling me that. I'm going to change my sound drops so they're only good ones.
No, you're not the one that's mentally unwell. You're brave. You are crossing into new boundaries.
Nice ones like that. We are brave and we are crossing into new boundaries. That's why we are not the crazy ones.
No, you're not the one that's mentally unwell. You're...
See? Right?
Absolutely gooped.
Come on. I thought you would at least mention the discussion on the Transfiguration as the most brilliant light of being, but not so. Then the talk about God being beyond all predicates fell on deaf ears, didn't it? Oh well, you suck. Why not wake up for a few minutes and put aside some of these practices that they have been describing? Put aside your hostility and give your mind a chance to see itself. They're saying not even your mind can experience luminosity, let alone go beyond to the God that is beyond all predicates. So similar to Jesus in that sense, that Jesus was not able to have that discussion, but even the haters are so blocked from the significance of language and words that they say, oh, you need a perfect language. Fuck that. You're stupid. You're pigs whistling and meatballs bouncing. You don't exist. You're garbage. To them, we say,
Just shut the fuck up forever.
Just shut
the fuck up. Just forever.
just forever, right?
1 million viewers and probably 4 trillion.
Okay.
4 bajillion viewers.
All right, lots of viewers. I get the idea.
The primary purpose of pools
Oh,
is
no, now
not
it's
to
for
murder. It
pools.
is for enjoyment
For
and
enjoyment
cooling off.
And cooling off. I know that about pools. So, the talk about the God that's beyond all predicates, or we're no longer using the word God because everyone else has talked about it as existing, and so it's at least a super fucking loaded term. So we're going to go for the word self or beyond predicates. That fell on deaf ears because they weren't even able to talk about the divine luminosity as the transfiguration experience as divine luminosity, because they are so blocked by their beliefs and, as we saw earlier, their fear of their own mind. Don't fear your own mind. Don't be a fascist for beliefs. Instead, drop those practices that you've been describing, put aside your hostility, and give mind a chance to see itself. And isn't that exactly what we're doing on the channel? Hooray. Wait. There we go. Isn't that what we're doing here? So yay. Wow, big question. What's the language needed for the self? How do we speculate that at all times? Are we collecting a language? Are we collecting a logos that we need for this, for our knowing of the self? We've got some words to carry. Have we got some words to carry for our logos part? Have we got some questions to carry for our Usia part about the self? Can you carry it at all times, even when you're boozing it up, even when you're loving it up? Because that's what we have to be doing at all times, which is making use of our Usia, our capacity for reflection, and our language, but we're doing it in the highest way. There are some dogs that are learning to do that. Bunny the dog is one. There are some birds that are learning to speak with the little buttons, and even a couple of cats, which are not so eager as dogs are. But they're waking up to their language or logos, and they're using it to ask questions. Why are they a dog? And why is Tenric, the small dog, look like the cat? So they're waking up to it. We are learning how to do it. Now, we are different from the animals because we have that capacity to do it in a terrible way. There are no animals that treat human beings in the horse shit fucking grotesque way we treat ourselves and the planet. It's disgusting. But it's only because we have the Usia and logos, we have the capacity to use it poorly. That's belief. That's the need for midwifery and dream analysis. But what we are doing is taking back our nature, our evolved nature of Usia and logos, and using it properly, freeing us from our ignorance and injustice. And that sense of justice we just read is a guide. Make sure everything you do, you feel like you are doing it in the most just way. Also your choice of goals are, let's see what he says exactly. Here we go. Right. Makes sense. You make sure that everything you're doing it with a clear mind, focused on what you're doing and not daydreaming or fantasizing. Make sure that it's feeling most right and just, and they have a sense of justice about your acts, and you recognize it's consistent with your philosophical goals. Otherwise, you're harboring a false idea about self and reality, and that's the most dangerous thing that everyone truly hates and fears. The most dangerous thing. Whoops, sorry. Whoops. Here we go. Page 183, bottom. Highest sense of right, pure state of mind, sense of justice, and a recognition of that it's consistent with your highest philosophical goals, which is making use of Usia and Logos, which is a question about self and using the language about self to reflect and think. Remember, if you can't explain it, you can't think it. So it's these words that we're collecting from this text. And it's a fucking banger of a text anyway, so it's a win-win, right?
It's a win-win.
Where are the effects today?
Win.
It's a win-win. So, carry that question. That's the kind of speculation that we do in everything we do as philosophers. That's your highest goal. That's what will give you a sense of, hey, and if you feel like you're not doing your highest in your highest excellence with highest justice, then maybe you've forgotten a question about self and the language of self. So now we have a way of making use of our Usia and Logos in our highest way, and we've done a wonderful reflection today on the significance of language and what a perfect language requires. You need the word Usia, you need the word Logos, you need Usia, Logos, you need eidos, ideas we talked about today, and we need the idea of self. Also throw in the dialectic, of course, the skill that we're here to master to reach those things, and you've got a pretty banger language on your hands that you can use at all times in that kind of reflection, taking your soul back from the ignorance of your upbringing. The meaning of life. Perfecting that Logos as we perfect that and carry that question in everything we do. The dialectic. Dialectic in whatever you do. And if you're lucky enough to have people with a good heart and good mind in your, a good heart and good head in your life, then you can practice doing the dialectic, carrying these questions and using these words in everything you do at all times. It would be a win-win-win.
Win.
And also you can become more able to participate in the luminosity, which can then illuminate you, becomes a self-perfecting activity, opposed to a self-fulfilling prophecy of our problems, our family clan beliefs. But a self-perfecting thing, you become more able and apt to participate in divine luminosity, which means you're more able and apt to carry that question and use the dialectic, and also more able and apt to function through that to benefit others or shine your light. In any moment, in any instant, and maybe even transcending the luminosity itself and the back and forth, transcending the back and forth to be and know yourself that remains itself at all times. Or, as Sok puts it, that which is itself, or the one self, or the good beyond anything existing, that persists unchanged and steadfastly in what it is in an unchanging way. Can you persist? Can you recognize the self? Can you recognize it? It would require a different Logos. It won't be anything like anything you've experienced before, but that understanding might be able to help you recognize yourself for what it is and that which transcends or beyonds, so that you can persist unchanged and steadfastly in what you are in an unchanging way, knowing the self. Today is our 100th episode. Hooray! Today is the big triple figures 100 episode for this book. My God, what a banger. We were reading the philosophical midwifery book before we jumped into this, but goddamn, this book is brilliant. We couldn't help but dive in completely. So I think a really fun one today, a really successful one, a really good one, the significance of language. Got a question we can carry at all times, a guide for our highest excellence. And we've seen tons about that. the significance of language and how it applies to at least 3 different levels. And we are looking for the perfection of our own so we can be open to seeing and knowing the self in an persisting, unchanging, steadfastly what we are way, our authentically ourself in every moment, beyond every reincarnation and every instant. Wow. Pretty neat for episode 100. Tell your friends. You can find the PDF to the text below. You can donate to the channel if you like to. That would be a fantastic 100 ep gift, and it is very much appreciated. And if you want to support on Twitch, you can. As soon as I have an average of 3 viewers per episode, I can become an affiliate, and then I can get benefits like being able to share the stream with you at different video qualities and things. And if you join the Discord, you will get a link below. You'll get a link when we go, get a notification when we go live, and you can, hey, maybe become a member of a growing community of awesome dudes that are doing the coolest thing. Hooray. Thank you once again for joining me, and I will see you in the next one.